day-to-day operations, including management, oversight of marketing, bids and grants, communications, public relations. And in 2017, he assumed the oversight of BYD's SkyRail division for North America. If you don't know what SkyRail is, it's the advanced monorail that's going to link the Sepulveda Pass from the San Fernando Valley to LAX. Anyway, please welcome Patrick. He's got some things to say.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. We appreciate your support for BYD and our great customer AVTA, which is about to deliver its 1 millionth mile of battery electric bus service to our community. Congratulations. 300 buses is a milestone for BYD. I remember about 6 years ago when we arrived in Lancaster, BYD was about a dozen employees working on a few buses at a time. And today we have 750 employees working in a facility of over 550,000 square feet. And we are constructing as many as 80 buses at any given time. These are buses that will be delivered to business, institutions, and communities throughout the United States. And this is just the beginning. We expect great things to happen in Lancaster. In fact, very soon we expect to invite you back to celebrate the completion of our 500th bus, and very soon after that, the 1,000th. We believe that for the foreseeable future, production and sales will continue to grow. Our factory is capable of producing 1,500 buses a year. And we envision a day when this facility will be operating at full capacity. In the same way AVTA is committed to a zero-emission future to its residents, BYD is committed to the same cause for the entire country and our community. We have invested over $250 million in this building, equipment, and our workforce. Outside these walls, a lot of mom and pop vendors are providing support to our team with custom parts fabrication, inventory items, and also many other necessary goods and services, including excellent food. We're also growing in many other ways. For example, we expect to deliver more electric trucks and more electric forklifts. Already, BYD manufactured battery electric trucks are in operation at ports and rail yards in California. We're also doing
January 3rd of 2019 to Kroll Cybersecurity. It's for $106,667.33. That is in error, and that has been caught by our accounting staff. And I just want to point out that we will have that rejournaled back to the district in the correct amount allocated to the district in the future. This was a security assessment that was not only physical security but also computer security that was done districts-wide. And the District 14 should only be paying a small portion of that. So that will be rejournaled, and we'll point that out at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
So item 3 is placed before you for approval.
So moved.
Second it. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Okay, item 3 is approved by the board as corrected. Item 4 is to authorize advertising and receipt of bids for the Lancaster Water Reclamation Plant Digester 5-liner Removal 2019.
Just a quick report on this, as written in the summary. The treatment tank, the digester treatment tank has a liner. It was put in service quite some time ago. That liner is starting to come off in pieces, and it's causing problems to downstream equipment. That's why we took it out of service. So we need to completely remove that liner, and that is this job that's being recommended for advertisement.
Is that one of the new liners? that was put in?
It was part of the new tank that was put in, yes, and it is part of the new liner. It was put in kind of an abundance of caution. No good deed goes unpunished. It's not, and our engineers have determined that it's not necessary to replace the liner, but it is, we do have to take it off because as it continues to fail, it's causing problems downstream.
What's responsible for its failure?
Well, it's part of the service that it's in. The tank level, it's under temperature, and it also rises and lowers the sludge in the tank, and that has caused the liner to kind of separate from the wall, that pressure on the liner.
Isn't there a warranty if it was just recently done?
Well, it wasn't recently done. It was still, the plant expansion was
like 5 years.
5-6 years ago, so it's not within a short period of time.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Item 4 is approved unanimously. Item 5 is to accept contract 5098 and order final payment to Groundbreakers Construction for the Lancaster Water Reclamation Plant storage reservoirs, filter diaphragms, resulting in the total contract amount as shown on the agenda.
So, quick report on this item. The storage reservoirs have earthen embankments. Those embankments, due to heavy rainfall, are subject to failure. And in order to prevent the failure, a drain system was installed in those reservoirs for water that percolates through the earthen embankment. And that's the work that was done. So that will ensure that whether it's heavy rainfall or earthquakes in the future, these reservoirs are in good shape.
Okay.
So I'll move to approve.
I'll second that. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Item 6 is to approve change order number 1 to contract 5155 with Pacific Coast Well Drilling for construction of the Lancaster Water Reclamation Plant Eastern Agricultural Site groundwater extraction wells installation, direct mud method, resulting in total payment as shown on the agenda.
So quick report on this one. We are installing the wells on the property so that it can access the groundwater as discussed throughout early this year and last year. And some of the well equipment, the pumps that actually have to fit in the casing were a little too big for the casing, and this is a change order. This is a cost that, even though this, our consultant unfortunately kind of missed the size of this, we would have had to pay for this anyway to upsize the casing to allow for the pump equipment. So this is just a change order. And I just can report too that the first well is in. It's being troubleshot now to make sure it becomes operational. The second well is under construction, and the third well is being drilled. It's a total of 3 wells. So we are making progress, and we hope by the end of summer that we would have all 3 wells in and functioning. But at subsequent meetings, we'll give a report on how that progress is going.
So the wells that are there now, what are they producing? The ones that are done?
So these are the new wells, and none of these are actually producing yet. So there are older existing wells that were there, and they were producing a total of
700 or 800 gallons a minute, I forget.
yes. These new 3 wells combined, each one of them is proposed to produce 2,500 gallons per minute for a total of 7,500 gallons per minute.
And none of those have been tested, the new ones?
The first one's in testing. They're going through kind of...
And what are they receiving for that?
In terms of production?
Yes.
We don't have a number yet.
We don't have the permanent equipment inserts or such that we can identify what the yield will be. They drilled the well, so then they now have to order the equipment in special order, and they'll install that at the end of the month.
Okay. My understanding is that there was the environmental study that was conducted on the property found a antelope squirrel.
Yeah, you can go up to the podium. This is Ray Tremblay. He's the one who's been coordinating with the farmer on site.
We are doing surveys. When the board approved the project to acquire the land back in 2004, we committed to doing environmental surveys there before we used the land. So now that this last bit of land is getting put in production, we're doing those surveys. the squirrel surveys that are required, there's 3 rounds of them. So yes, we found a squirrel there, but it's not the endangered Mojave ground squirrel, which is of concern in our original environmental document. So far, we're okay in terms of squirrels.
Okay, so you didn't find it something that would stop the production of the well?
Yeah, no sir. None of these would affect the well. We got clearance to construct the wells. This would be for there's still a few plants that need to be cleared, so we have to do some additional surveys this month and next month, but so far we're okay.
So far?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Item 7 is to receive an order filed report for issuance of purchase order on behalf of District Number 2 to SNF Polydyne in the amount as shown on the agenda to furnish and deliver cationic emulsion polymer. District Number 14 portion is shown on the agenda.
So this is essentially just an informational item. As you're aware, District 2 acts as the administrative district on behalf of all the sanitation districts, and we leverage the fact that all of our treatment plants need chemical, and we purchase them in bulk to achieve the best possible price. So this is information to show that District 2 has awarded this purchase order in this amount, and what the District 14 portion of it is, just so you're aware of the fact that this has occurred by District 2. And as mentioned in the summary, once again, we do this because it is a financial benefit. If each individual district went out with its small portion, we wouldn't be able to get the good pricing that we've gotten when we buy for all the wastewater treatments in bulk.
So we don't approve this, we just receive and file?
Correct.
Okay. I still need to make a motion to receive and file?
Yeah.
So I move to approve.
We have a motion and a second to receive and file, number 7. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously.
Item 8 is regarding the wastewater revenue program. Item A is to hold the combined public hearing on service charge report and the proposed service charge and industrial wastewater surcharge rate ordinances and collection of the service charge on the property tax roll.
So I'm going to open the public hearing.
We do have a presentation first, and then we can open the public hearing.
Why don't we open the public hearing and that can become part of it?
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and I'd just like to introduce Dave Bruns. He's the head of the Sanitation District's Financial Management Department, and he'll review a little bit about the rates and the public meetings we've already had and what's before the board today.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A lot of this presentation is a summary of the same presentation that was made at each of the information meetings. It was also posted on our website for people that could not attend the information meetings. So this is really a summary of that same information. Just to put it in perspective, while we're talking about District 14, it really is a partnership of 24 sanitation districts throughout Los Angeles County. This partnership allows for greater economies of scale, greater efficiency, so that a lot of the staff that you don't necessarily need full-time doesn't have to be hired just for District 14. It can be shared amongst the districts, and you really only pay for the staff while they're working for your particular district. We've shown in red here the boundaries of District 14. We'll zoom in on a moment, but it covers basically Lancaster and a small portion of Palmdale. The rest of the Antelope Valley is in District 20, which is really covers the rest of Palmdale. But we're just talking about District 14, and you can see here it is District 14. It's primarily Lancaster, the west end of Palmdale. The west end of Palmdale is in the district because one of the ways we try to reduce cost is take advantage of gravity. The west end of Palmdale does flow to the north, so it flows into District 14, so it makes more sense from an economic standpoint. The treatment plant you can see is further to the north, right off the freeway at Avenue D, and then further to the east is the agricultural reuse site. The treatment plant itself, as I mentioned, is on Avenue D. It it was upgraded several years ago it's a full-scale tertiary level treatment plant, meaning that it produces water that is suitable for municipal reuse. It's rated at 15 million gallons per day. We currently treat right around 14 million gallons per day. And again, it does produce water that's suitable for municipal reuse. Right now, we're still working with the cities and with the water districts to develop all of the municipal reuses. So right now, agricultural reuse is the predominant use, mainly growing alfalfa and other fodder crops, as you can see in the pictures. We sell the water and we lease the land out, and so it does come back as a revenue source to the district to help offset expenses. One of the issues, though, is particularly with agricultural reuse, that the demand is seasonal, that it's high in the summer, it's hot, it's dry, there's more of a demand for water, it's low in the winter when it's rainy, when it's cold. And so we have constructed a series of storage reservoirs to help meet the seasonal demand, that the idea being that we fill them up during the winter, that water then is available and can be drawn down during the summer. And those reservoirs can hold up to 1.3 billion gallons of water that can then be used beneficially during the summer months. There are some additional capital improvements that need to be made, particularly addressing the primary and preliminary treatment works at the head end of the plant. These were facilities that were constructed between 1958 and 1994, so they're at least 25 years old. Some of them are closer to 60 years old. They are either nearing or have reached the end of their useful life and need to be replaced. In the capital improvement plan, we have shown those facilities being replaced over the next 5 to 6 years at a cost of approximately $40 million. What that means in terms of expenses, you can see we've shown the proposed budgets for each of the next 4 years. The O&M stays relatively level, increasing with inflation. The capital, you can see, particularly starting in fiscal year 2021 and then moving outward, you can see the proposed construction of the preliminary and primary treatment works. The debt service, that is related to the construction of the tertiary facilities back in, came into line 2012. That's the debt service. It's a fixed number that just has to be repaid annually. And then there are reserves, and while not an actual expense, based on some of the reserve policy that the board has established, that the reserves are built up in certain years and then pulled out in other years to help level out expenses so that we don't have peaks and valleys and have to adjust the rates from year to year. In terms of funding sources, again, we've shown the projected expenses at the top. There are some funding sources that we get on a routine basis. We still continue to get a share of the property tax revenue, a small share as a remnant from Prop 13. The contract and interest, primarily from the sale of the recycled water. Connection fees, these are as new users connect to the system, that they pay a connection fee, and then we use those monies to fund expansion-related projects so that existing users don't have to subsidize new growth. And then again, we've shown the reserves. On the previous slide, we showed accumulation of reserves, and now we're showing the drawing down those reserves. And you can see that clearly that is less than the projected expenses, and then so the balance needed to be collected from user charges. Now, when we get to that, this is what it translates to. The current service charge rate is $476 per year, or just about $40 per month. 4 years ago, the board actually reduced the rate. We had refinanced our bonds. We reduced the rate and have held it flat for each of the last 4 years. So this would be the first increase that we've had in 4 years. It's projected at 99 cents per month. This is after discussions several months ago when the board, we had come with a slightly higher increase. You had proposed lowering that increase, and we have done that to reflect the recommendation that you made to us.
What is the annual rate for the current annual rate for the District 20.
For District 20, the current rate is $575 per single-family home per year. It's higher. They've had a couple different issues there. They had a groundwater cleanup remediation issue that they've had to address. And it's a smaller district, so they don't have quite the economy of scale that District 14 does. So they are about $100 per single-family home higher.
Okay.
And then you can see the proposed rates going up to about $43 per month. The statewide average in fiscal year 16-17, the last year for which the state made information available, for tertiary level treatment plants, the rate then was $53 per month. So even with this proposed rate increase, it's still significantly below the statewide average for a similar level of treatment. Now, and to clarify on the rates here, these are the rates per single-family home. We do have a low water rebate program. It does impact both residential and commercial parcels, but for parcels that do use significantly lower water than what we have projected that a typical single-family home, they can qualify for a reduced rate. All that information was in our Prop 218 notice. It's on our website. We also worked with the city to advertise that to make people aware that that program is out there. In fact, I would say the predominant feedback we got at our information meetings was people who were applying for the low water rebate program.
So you have a lot of people here that are going to need to know that information. So how do they go about obtaining it? Okay,
it is on our website. Some of the information was in the Prop 218. So if you still have your notice, it's in there. It's on our website. The easiest thing to do as well, you can call us. We have a toll-free number that, again, it's on the notice that gives our number. Particularly for homeowners, it's a one-page application. It's basically your name, address, parcel number so that we can make sure we get you the credit you deserve. And then you send a copy of your water bills, and then we review them, we look at them, and we do all the processing. And if you qualify, you get a rebate for the current year, and then as you move forward, you receive the reduced rate as long as you own the property. You don't have to continue to reapply. Once you're in as long as you own the home.
Can I just mention, I'm sorry, that the applications for rebates, there's a button on the very front page of the website, and actually when you click that button that says low water rebates, it takes you to another page that says all other districts and Districts 14 and 20. So hopefully it makes it real easy for the residents and ratepayers here to identify the application process.
Okay.
And if they have any issues, they can call us. We have staff that is dedicated to running the program. They can walk them through it. The only reason that we request that the homeowner send us the water bills, there's privacy concerns where typically the water agencies will not just directly send us the bills, so we need the homeowners to send it to us. But other than that, we can do all the calculations and process the application.
Okay, you'll be available after the meeting for anyone that needs.
Yes, and I have my cards. They can call me, and I can direct them to the right people. If anybody brought their water bills, we'll take them back to the office and get them processed right away.
Okay.
In terms of public participation, just to summarize what happened, we did send out roughly 51,000 Prop 218 notices to every parcel owner within the district. We held information meetings.
For those people that are here, will you explain the 218, that it's not a board decision?
Okay, well, under Prop 218, the way the law is set, Prop 218 was approved by the state. It was a proposition in 1997. Actually approved in 1996, became effective for 1997. It requires that any time there is a proposed rate increase, that we have to send individual mailed notices to every property owner, what the proposed increase would be, the reason for the increase, how they protest. And so we have done that. And then there has to be at least a 45-day waiting period between when the notice is mailed and when we hold the public hearing. For water, wastewater, and solid waste collection, it is a protest process where the property owner has to submit in writing a protest. If more than 50% of the property owners submit a protest, then it cannot move forward at all. If less than 50% submit protest, then it comes back to the board to consider enactment of a rate increase.
So 26,000 people would have had to send in notices.
Yes, pursuant to what Prop 218 requires.
Okay.
Now, in terms of that,
But that's not your decision nor ours. It's a state decision.
That is under state law. It's incorporated in Article 13D of the state constitution. So,
Thank you.
yeah, it's the requirement that's imposed upon us. Before the public hearing, we wanted to make sure people had an opportunity to get information. So we put a lot of information on our website. We did conduct 4 information meetings, different days of the week, most of them in the evenings, one on a Saturday afternoon.
You might want to put the presentation down.
Oh, did it? Sorry about that. Oh, I apologize. My apologies for that. So we had 4 information meetings. 11 people total showed up to all 4 of those information meetings. We also conducted a tour of the treatment plant so people could actually see what the money was being spent on, how the treatment plant worked. We had 20 people actually attend the tour of the plant. We got 61 correspondence, either people calling, emailing, sending letters, and then we've received 11 protests. 7 different property owners representing 11 parcels actually submitted protests. On the correspondence, again, most of the correspondence we got was people inquiring about the low water rebate program, and we've been processing those. We did attach copies of the protests and the letters we received to your packets. We did receive primarily 2 letters that I want to highlight that people actually didn't, a lot of people when they protested said, I protest, and without any additional statement. 2 people did write significantly longer letters. One was from Assemblymember Tom Lackey, not a specific protest to a parcel, but raising concerns about the rate increase. We did talk to his chief of staff. We had a lengthy conference call with him. Went through it, corrected some misinformation, things they didn't understand.
Let's talk about that for a minute. Whose rules are it that we have to line everything? Where do those rules come from?
Do you mean lining the tanks?
Correct.
Are those the engineering decisions?
The decision to line the tank is done by engineers with
Whose rules? It comes from the state. It's state rules that are mandated.
Correct. All the compliance, the wastewater treatment plant, the permits for it come from the state, from the regional board, and then, of course, the State Water Resources Control Board.
So the chemicals that we put in the water and all that is mandated by the state.
Correct.
If I may, just to be clear, the state mandates the outcome at the end of our pipe. And our duty is to meet those effluent limits as they leave our plant.
Correct. But here's what I have a problem with. Mr. Lackey's up there making all the rules, and when we have to pay for them for some reason, then he's saying, you guys shouldn't make these people pay for them. How are you guys going to respond to him and tell him that who's going to pay for all the rules that he makes?
Well, and we did have some of those discussions. Like I said, we after we got the letter, we called and had a lengthy discussion with him, went through how the district, we reviewed with him, because he used to be on the boards, particularly for District 20 as a Palmdale City Council member, reviewed how the plants work, what we're doing, the various issues. And I think there was...
I'm in receipt of his letter, and his letter has District 14 on it.
Yes, because...
Okay, District 14 is $100 cheaper than the counterpart, correct?
Correct.
We haven't had a raise in 4 years, correct?
Correct.
We kept, you guys would have liked us to have raised it, but we kept it back for 4 years, correct? Okay, you added or requested a larger increase, and we held it down to as small as possible, correct?
Correct.
So Mr. Lackey writes a letter where the district he was responsible for is over $100 more than ours.
Correct. And when we talked to his chief of staff and we went over that, we raised all of the same points that you just raised, and I would say particularly the chief of staff was unaware of those, and I think that made a difference in how they viewed it, that they had not realized that you had taken those actions to reduce the rates, to keep them flat, and to actually propose a lower rate increase than what staff would have recommended. So we did review all those things with his office.
I think this is a perfect example demonstrating how the state of California is broken, and the lawmakers in Sacramento don't understand what's going down here, down here in the cities.
You don't need to comment on that. I just think it's a political embarrassment when they make the rules. They expect us to respond to the rules, abide by the rules, and then we have to pay for it some way. Some way we have to pay for it. And then they send us a letter and say, don't increase the rates. Nobody wants to increase the rates. But they're mandating we have to because of the rules that they send down here. So if anyone's responsible for raising these rates, it's these guys. Okay.
Then just to comment, the second letter we got was from a homeowner, raised several issues, and we did actually send a letter back both via email and by regular mail responding to the issues that he had raised in his letter. Some of them, obviously there's always philosophic differences on rates, but some of it related to things like how the low water rebate program ran. There was some misunderstanding that under the low water rebate program, one of the concerns has been, do you look at annual water use or only winter water use? Because obviously during the summer you're using a lot more water than during the winter, and we wanted to make sure it was clear that we do look at winter water use. We're trying to accurately determine what people are discharging and only charge them for their actual use. There's no benefit to overcharging anybody if they're not discharging into the system. So we did address those issues as well.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Were there any calls, correspondence, other than the ones we have or received? Those are the ones?
Just what was reported,
those are the ones
yes,
that...
correct.
Okay. Can we have public comment now? Okay. Bud? Welcome, Bud.
Hi. I'd like to know that when Prop 13 came in, it said that all tax increases and fee increases must be voted on by the public. Why was this district, sanitary district number 14, able to get these high increases on our special assessment portion of the property tax bill approved without a voters referendum? Originally.
It's a public comment period. Well, I'll be glad to try to answer your question, but that's not what this is made or designed to do, is that to question why it's done. It's more of a comment period. Can you answer his question and explain the 218 is a vote?
Sure. And let me...
Not the 218, the Prop 13.
Well, let me address a couple things. First, the reason we put it on the property tax bill, it's purely a billing mechanism. It's not at all related to property value. We could direct bill and send out separate billings, and it would never appear on the property tax bill. The reason we don't do that is the assessor's office charges us 25 cents per parcel to put the charge on the tax bill, collect the money, and forward it to us. If we had to have our own billing system, we couldn't even cover the postage for the 25 cents. So it's the most economical means of collecting it, which reduces our overall cost. So it's not a property tax, and it's not related in any way to property value. The Prop 13 relates and legal counsel can speak to it as well better than I probably, but the general property tax, the 1% general property tax, is regulated by Prop 13. Fees and charges, which is what this falls under, is subject to Prop 218, which does have different requirements. And for most fees and charges under Prop 218, it does require voter approval, but it did carve out a specific provision for water, wastewater, and solid waste collection, where unless there's a majority protest, comes back to the board of directors for a vote.
So it doesn't have to be approved by the voters because of that special reason you said.
Yeah, and that's the way the law is written, and so we're just following the dictates as the law was written.
Okay. I just thought that all tax increases or fee increases under Prop 13 had to be approved by the voters.
Thank you, Bud.
Thank you.
Fran.
I'm going to pass at this point because I need to get more into this.
Okay. Michael Reeves.
Mr. Chair, Director, first of all, I would like to know why there's a discrepancy from the figures calculated on page 3, preliminary budget, and the final budget you have here. There seems to be a difference in the expenses, and I'm wondering why the expenses have gone up for 2019, 20, and 21 so dramatically compared to what they prepared in February and what they have here now. Maybe somebody can answer that question. But I want to make a point that sanitation could bill us separately instead of on the property taxes, but
Michael, did you go back to I think it's like a 5th or 6th page where it talks about the replacement cost and what is projected at $40 million? Mm-hmm. We have a $40 million bill that we're going to have to pay, so it's projected out for those years. That's why the expenses are going up.
Okay, well, that wasn't in the preliminary budget then in February.
I think it's been in every budget that I've seen. That's the whole reason that at least I'm agreeing to the increase, because we have to have that $40 million to do everything that we're mandated to do by the state.
The other thing that we did after, when we did the receive and file, and you had recommended that we lower the proposed rate, we did go back and make some amendments to the budget to incorporate the changes that you had recommended. So from the very original budget to now, we have made those changes as you recommended, and we did post a version of that budget with the red line strikeout so that people could see what changes were being made in accordance with your direction.
Go ahead, Michael.
One more, I want a couple more points. One point.
Okay, let me, hang on, take his time off.
Is it mandated that we have to approve a 4-year budget? Can you just approve for 1 year? Because on here it says that you get revenue from property taxes. And if I understand, the property values are going down right now. So that might mean less property taxes. So you're calculating it on the property taxes for now, for the future. And because of the turnaround in the economy, it might be affected. And it might be a lower amount of. And another thing, I don't know.
Let me address that real quick. These people want me to raise the rates every year.
Right.
Okay? And we have to have a reason, so we have to look at a budget in order for them to work under. Okay? So this is what you're going to work under, this is it. So that's how we were able to stand off for the last 4 years of not having a budget increase. So it's not like we're up here trying to gouge everyone. It's ridiculous, the amount, but it's what it costs, and you can see are we the lowest in the state or in the districts?
In terms of the overall district, no, the joint outfall system, which is a much, much larger system and which has ocean discharge, and hence, because of that, doesn't go to the same level of treatment, is less expensive. But in terms of the statewide average for tertiary level facilities, you are about $10 per month less than the statewide average.
Okay.
Well, according to this proposed new budget, in 3 years, it's going to go up $60 a year. Now, that might not mean a lot of money to some of you, but if you're low income or senior citizen, and you're getting your property taxes raised, and now you're getting sanitation, which is the biggest thing on the property. They may not, you could have you said you can send the sanitation bills out separately, or you could put it on the assessor's thing. Okay, they collect the sanitation fees with the property taxes, don't they? So when you get that big property tax bill, the biggest thing on that bill is the sanitation. And it's always been the biggest thing. If it's possible, I wouldn't approve it for 4 years. I would approve it for 1 year and make these guys come back next year and justify it every single year. It's not fair to say, well, this is where it's going to be. We don't know what's going to happen in 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
If I could respond to that real quickly, the disadvantage coming back every year, there's no legal requirement that you have to do 4 years versus 1 year. The disadvantage of doing it 1 year at a time is that each year you would have to go through the Prop 218 process and incur the expense of sending out the notices. And it's basically money that's being spent that doesn't go directly into the treatment. So it's a balance of trying to save on that end versus, coming back each and every year.
Thank you. Mark Arnoff. Welcome, Mark.
Good morning. Thank you. I'd just like to read the letter I wrote to the district, and then I have some things I want to comment on also. And this is from both my wife, Sharon, and myself, who are Lancaster residents and have been for many, many, many years, over 20 years. To whom it may concern, we are writing this letter in protest to any rate increase for our sewage treatment as per the process from Proposition 218. When Districts 14/20 initially appeared on our property taxes for sewer treatment, we contacted our elected officials as to the nature of the charges and how they arose. We were told that there was a measure on the ballot that was approved by the voters. We have voted in every election for over 40 years and do not recall any ballot measure that would have added this to our property taxes, nor would we have voted to institute the formation of District 14/20 for sewage treatment. Be that as it may, District 1420 was added to our property taxes, which increased our personal property taxes by 25% and our commercial property taxes by over 100%. We are retired on a fixed income. Any additional increases for sewage treatment would constitute a hardship on us, and we would need to reevaluate where we live and have our property interest. It could potentially cause us to leave California altogether and sell off all of our property interests and place them in other more tax-friendly states. Therefore, we strongly oppose and protest any and all proposed increases to our water treatment for Districts 14 and 20, which are the districts our properties are located. We will be attending the May 9th, 2019 public hearing at Lancaster City Hall at 9:30 a.m. This is another issue we wish to address. The fact to hold the hearing at 9:30 a.m. is an outrage in itself. Most people that this proposed increase affects must be at their jobs and cannot attend, as by the low turnout that you can see here, by the way. Why would you have a hearing at 9:30 a.m. rather than evening when most property owners that this preposterous increase affects could attend? Could it be because you don't really want to hear from us and know that this is during normal working hours when normal people cannot attend? How much money was spent on creating and printing and distributing the fancy 4-page glossy color with photos, letters that were sent out to 51,000 customers that will be affected by this increase? Maybe that money would have been spent better on improving the plants rather than draining it from us. Also, the low water rebate program is a sham. Most of us homeowners water their lawns in the spring and the summer months, which does not go through the sewer system. So So your program is very unfair in its calculations. And the .26 HCF in District 14 and the .20 in District 20 are so low that we are sure that few, if any, consumers will qualify. And nowhere in the material that was mailed out does it indicate that one needs to file for the rebate by March 31st. The only way I found this out was by looking on the website. Also, if I can ask, how much salary did the top officials at the Sanitation District of Los Angeles County make? Did they get their salary increases? Did they get salary increases this or last year? Is any of this proposed increase to our districts going to them? There's already way too much government waste, so why do we consumers have to continue to pay for your waste, inefficiency, and high salaries? We adamantly oppose and protest a potential rate increase for our sewage treatment. We hope this does not fall on deaf ears, that you truly listen to your consumers, and that this is just not another government cover-up. And signed sincerely, Mark Aronoff and Sharon Aronoff. And I just want to make one last little comment about the low rebate program. I did go and get the water consumption for myself and my house and our properties, and that .26 is unbelievable. My summertime was 1.12. And it's just my wife and I. And yes, we have a fairly large house, but we don't waste water. The winter months was .60, which is even still high, I understand. So we don't qualify for it. It's very frustrating as a consumer and as a resident here of Lancaster to see that the potential of our rate increase is going to affect us tremendously. It's not a lot, I understand, but overall it does affect our lifestyle and our way of living. And again, it may cause us to have to leave the area, which I really don't want to do. I know.
No, I agree with virtually everything that you said. I mean, there's one difference, and it's we have to pay the bills. It's, if I was to ask them, how do I fire you? Go ahead and answer. How do I fire you?
You would have to go through a process down in with the other boards. I mean, it's a complex process, but
I can't fire you, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so understand what I'm working with here. It's not like they're doing a bad job, so I don't want to say that.
Our hands are tied to a certain extent.
We're tied to everything that's being created for us, and we're responsible to find the money to pay for the bills. So they've wanted more money and more money. We've kept them, in my words, at bay for as long as possible. The treatment has to be done. It's not like we're overspending in this district because we're, as he said, the lowest, okay, and we've tried to keep it as low as possible. So we're trying as desperately as possible because we own properties here. We have the same. I have to pay it just as well as you do. So I'm aware of it. I don't like it, but I have to find the money. I agree with what you said, but it's mandated by the state to us that this is what you shall produce. The end product you shall produce. And then we're trying to be as creative as possible. We're leasing out our lands, the sanitation district's lands. We're leasing out our water rights to the different farmers to try to get more income so we don't have to raise them. So we're trying everything that's possible so we don't have to raise the rates. They came back with a much higher rate. We told them no, that this is what you should be able to live with under. They worked with us, they did it. So what I'm trying to say is we're not in total control here. This is not us. This is state to county to sanitation district to us. So if you look at just our neighbors to the south, we are $100 cheaper per year than they are.
I understand. And there are no other revenue sources that they can draw from, is what you're saying.
There's no other revenue sources which we've found at this time.
Okay.
So it's like we have to stay at the best. We'll get sued if we don't do it. We have to produce a safe product at the end of the day. We have to have top quality people. That's why they get their raises. That's why they are top quality people. I'm not degrading them at all. I'm saying the process is broke. We're not in control of our own sanitation district. If we were, I would love it. Okay?
And I do agree with you 100%. Our system is completely broken at this time.
It is. We agree. Thank you. I appreciate
Thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you.
Can
Friend.
I speak now?
No.
I cannot.
Sure.
Mr. Chair, just if I could interrupt for one moment just to make one clarification on the March 31st date. That doesn't really apply in this case. That normally is for commercial businesses that are on a routine reapplication process. That for any of the homeowners here, and we recognized that when we sent out the Prop 218 notices, it was already close to that date and it would be almost impossible for people to meet that. It really is there as more as a guideline so that what we want to do is not have to have people pay the higher rate and then wait to get a rebate. By doing it, the earlier they get it in, it allows us to put the correct charge on their tax bill up front so they don't have to pay and wait for rebates. If they miss that deadline, we still process it. It may mean that we have to get a corrected tax bill, but they can apply at any time. It's not something that
Thank you.
They didn't miss out.
Okay, friend.
Do you want me to bring this down for you?
Yes, please. Okay, thank you.
Just tell me when to stop.
Okay, well, Laura, this is okay. I think that's good. Thank you. Thank you very much for allowing me to come in after the fact here. First of all, I do want to thank you. I want to thank Lancaster for doing what they do for our city. And but I have a question as far as the guarantee, the liners. Okay, they're charging us $40 million, and we're supposed to be paying this within, 4 or 5 years, if I'm reading this correctly. And I'm just kind of scanned through everything.
We're upgrading the facility.
Upgrading, okay.
To state specs.
Okay. But after that, and we're going to have to pay this up in 4 years, approximately.
Correct.
Right? After that, and it's paid for, and it's supposed to be up to par, what is going to be the guarantee that they're not going to be coming back to us and saying, well, now this container or this is deteriorating? Polyethylene, because they use polyethylene tubs to hold the water, and that's supposed to be top grade, and they use Lexan, and these are top grade plastic materials, and they don't deteriorate that quick, 4 or 5 years. So what kind of a guarantee are they giving us that these things that they're going to be doing for us to upgrade $40 million worth of product to the public, that we don't have to have another increase in the next 4 years?
Well, it's better than that, Fran. It's in 4 years, we're going to take a look at it and see about decreasing it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so it's if we're paying the $40 million, and we will try, they're going to have to justify they need the money for other things. We will look at decreasing it at that time.
Oh, okay.
Can I add something too? The rates that are proposed, and those would be the maximum. So each year we have to come back with a budget for the board to consider, and at that time there could be the opportunity not to raise the rates but to lower them if things change, if there is more revenue from other sources or other projects can be downsized. And that's what actually occurred back in 2016, 2017, when at that time the board reduced the rate at that time, District 14 board, because the increase was not necessary. So that will come back on a yearly basis.
Right.
Okay.
So we're watching it, Fran. We're watching it. I mean, but it's important that everybody comes out and talks to us and tells us their concerns and make sure that your elected officials are watching it. We're trying to do the best we can. So
yes, and I appreciate that.
That's all we can do.
And we're watching you too.
Okay.
And we appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks, Bram. Anyone else in the audience like to speak? Come on up.
I'm sorry.
When you come up, can I get your name and...
Maxie Case. Hi, good morning. Maxie Case.
Good morning.
That's fine. Good. Sorry, I was hoping somebody would bring this up and I wouldn't have to speak, but I haven't seen anything that is showing what the commercial rate increases will be. Do you have a breakdown of that? How that? And I understand it's not based on one rate for all commercial, based on the effluent coming out at the end and so forth.
In terms of, and it's a little harder because everybody has their own numbers, but everybody pays the same rate. This is a rate per sewage unit, which is the amount of flow and strength in your wastewater. And so everybody's rate would go up the exact same percentage. Everybody's paying exactly the same rate. For example, a restaurant might be 10 sewage units per 1,000 square feet, so they would pay 10 times this rate, same rate, but they have 10 units of usage. And so we have tables, and I can show you and it's on our website where we actually list all of the user categories and all of the proposed rates. Most of them are per 1,000 square feet. The rates, are based on size. That typically a larger facility will discharge more sewage than a smaller facility. And so we have all those rates, but everybody's paying the same rate per sewage unit, so everybody would see the same percentage increase in their charge.
Okay, so percentage increase. So if the households are increasing...
They're going up a little less than 3%.
3%, so you would say that the commercial rate will increase 3%?
Yes, by that exact same percent.
We're going to be confident in that. Because, people, obviously, many assume that, commercial people, they can afford it and so forth. I have one owner who, she has a little building on Avenue I, 3,000 square foot old Shakey's building. And in 2012, when the plant was put in the first year, her sanitation fee was $9,000. And with the low water consumption, it was cut in about half. But, obviously that means passing it on to the tenant, passing it on to the consumer. It's a mess no matter what.
Yeah,
so,
no, and to help put some of it in perspective, depending upon the type of commercial use, we actually measure both quantity, the amount of flow that you have, and we measure strength. And we measure basically the amount of organic matter that you have in the wastewater, and then the amount of solids matter, because that's where a lot of the costs occur. So depending upon the type of use, something like a laundromat has at least historically, had very high flows, relatively low strengths, but very high flows. Something like a restaurant where you have potentially have a lot of food waste has a lot of strength. And so we balance all of those factors when we measure how many sewage units are attributable to a particular parcel. So depending upon what the use is, it may not be that they necessarily have a high flow, they could have a high strength.
Exactly, and so that's why the restaurant use has a higher rate to begin with, which you're saying is increasing approximately
and something
3%.
like a warehouse where you have very little flow, very little strength, their charge is significantly lower.
And we've also gone to the point where we've looked into having those restaurants that have a lot of landscaping, having a meter for water to water the landscaping and a meter that goes into the restaurant, so we can get an accurate flow of what it is.
And so, several years ago, actually, out here, the Restaurant Association in particular came to the cities and came to us, and we actually went out and conducted a series of studies on what restaurants were discharging, changes they had made in their operations to put in more efficient equipment, and actually lowered the rate for restaurants.
Fantastic.
We did.
So about 3%. That
Yes.
should answer the question. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak?
I have another question.
Okay.
You say that all the water
Hang on till you get to the mic.
No. You say that all the water is sanitized to the tertiary level. So then us people who live in Quartz Hill, the tertiary level gets to go to Kaiser, to the park in Lancaster, but it doesn't benefit all of us who live out in outlying areas but are under this District 14. So why do we and why do everyone have to pay for the tertiary level when we don't benefit from it?
Okay, a couple different answers. One, first going back to the early 2000s, these facilities, both in Palmdale and Lancaster, used what were called oxidation ponds. It was a secondary level treatment. It's a very low tech, uses a lot of land, has a lot of odors. We were under, again, going back to the issues of the state imposing different regulations. We went through a facility plan to address those regulations. We had proposed sort of a mixture of using oxidation ponds and some tertiary level treatment. The community, we held a variety of meetings. The community spoke, the director spoke, and the decision was made to go to 100% tertiary level treatment with the long-term goal of municipal reuse. At the moment, while we haven't gotten to 100% municipal reuse, the goal is to get there, and we are working with the cities, with the county, with the water districts to expand that distribution system so that everyone would have access to the water. In terms of receiving benefit, we do sell the water. It isn't just, here's water, it's free. That one of those things we do is sell the recycled water, and that comes a revenue source that then goes to help offset expenses.
And it's Bud, correct?
Yes.
But there's also the adjudication that happened here in our area. So there's also a lot of transferring of water rights. So with the tertiary water, they can water alfalfa with tertiary water, where they've been watering it with groundwater. So now they can take that groundwater and transfer it to other districts and other areas that are allowed. So everyone in the area, District 14 and 20, are benefiting it because of the adjudication hearing and the result of that.
Well, I disagree.
Okay.
Because I look at my neighborhood, which is in Quartz Hill, and we say, we don't get any tertiary water out there to Water Lane Park or other places. You have all this pipes going to Lancaster Parks, Kaiser, and so forth, and to the agriculture, and they say to everyone else, sorry, just pay. You should lower our rates and charge those other persons more. Be fair. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak? No, I don't. Michael, you guys should have done this. Anyone else like to speak that hasn't already spoke? Sure. Come on up. No, Michael, her.
Oh.
You're Sharon.
Yes, and thank you both so much.
Can you state your full name for the record?
Sharon Arnoff. I've been in this valley for 24 years, and I realize your hands are tied, and I can tell that we're all stuck. I just want to make mention, because I have time to talk, that I lost my family. They all left California. And I lost all my friends and half their businesses, and they left California. So we're here today to make that decision, and I was born and raised here, if we're going to be able to stay here, because we're both now retired. And we had to retire by 59 because my husband lost his job, like many other seniors and us baby boomers that aren't getting the fair share like our parents and our grandparents did. So I know this isn't going to be able to help. And I know some of you are young and have to wait till 70 before you go ahead and retire. But I do want everybody to realize it's hurting California. And we'll be leaving too. But I wanted you to know we all lost, because my grandkids had to move out of California too, just so they can have an education. So as we all talk here how we pay for everything, we will be paying for everything. And thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak?
I just have one quick question. Very good question. Thank you.
You know, now I'm going to have to let Michael speak.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to know how it was derived that this was going to be a 4-year plan and why they didn't stretch it out to maybe 10 years to get the cost down even more. You know, I understand 3%. Could have been down to 1% if they would have stretched it over a longer period of time. And I just wanted to find out if there was a reasoning behind the 4 years.
That's where they said that they needed the number to be at was at a lot larger number. So we reduced that amount, and that was the number of years that we could reduce it to.
So we couldn't stretch that over to 10-year period.
The law only allows a 5-year at a maximum at one time.
Thank you. Thank you for answering that.
Thank you. Okay, Michael, I'm being fair.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to make one remark. The gentleman alluded that if we did this every year, he'd have to put out the notices and stuff. This is a democracy. It doesn't make any difference how many notices you're going to put out. The people have a right to have this judged every year, not give a 4-year plan. You should go through this every year. If it costs money to have the public give their opinion, then that's the way it is. This is a democratic society, and the people rule, not the bureaucrats.
Thank you, Michael. But I got Mark telling me to spread it out, make it as low as possible, okay, over the years. You want it done every year, which would cost more. So we can't do it. So when it costs more, that's out. We have to make that decision, what's reasonable. So that's the reason that we're not trying to hide anything. We're not trying to do anything behind your back. We're just saying it's going to take 4 years to pay off this $40 million. So, okay, anyone else? Okay, we're going to close the public hearing. Austin?
Let the record show I reluctantly approve this.
I'll second it. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So this is for item B, to adopt the service charge report, and item C, to adopt the following ordinances as listed on the agenda, prescribing the service charge rate and the means loading of the unit of usage for this district, and providing for the collection of the tax rolls, or I'm sorry, the service charge on the tax roll, and an ordinance prescribing the industrial wastewater service charge rates for this district.
Is that correct? B and C?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item 9 is regarding a closed session item as listed on the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, it's legal counsel's opinion that we should convene into a closed session for the 2 items listed for closed session on the agenda.
Okay, I did talk with the legal counsel prior to this, and I usually don't go into closed session, but she talked me into this one, so I'm going to have to clear the room.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Very much. We appreciate you two for all that hope.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming in and telling us a little bit about yourselves.
Get your card.
Thank you, sir.